Welcome back. You are listening to another episode of the Keep the Change podcast, and I've got the master across from me because he is the master franchisee
master.
from Smith & Sons. We've had him on to learn more about his journey through the building industry over the last 30 years. But in this episode, we're going to sit down and talk more about franchising in general and what we can learn. Because in the first podcast, what I was saying is basically trying to discover some different pathways that are actually possible for people who get into trades, and we've used building as the example. Now, franchising is, again, another one of those things where people can look at that and go, is that for me? Is it not? What's it all about? But I think a lot of people don't actually have too much knowledge in that space. But given that you've been in this space for over 2 decades now, who better to nitpick at everything with than
franchising?
Yeah, than Reon. So, mate, let's just start with, how does it actually work? And I know that you're talking general terms about franchising, but then you'll be able to give us specific examples of Smith & Sons as well.
Yep. So I guess I always start when talking about franchising to get people to think about how many franchises there are actually out there. In my industry, all of the group housing companies, just about all of them are franchises. So your Stonewood Homes and your GJ Gardeners and et cetera, they're all slightly different forms of franchises, right? In the food industry, it's full of them, the coffee clubs and the Jamaica Blues, and there's just on and on it goes. The Pizza Huts, the Domino's, the Maccas, they're all franchise owned.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
Subway, yeah.
Subway,
Start
all
thinking about
franchise
it. Wow.
owned. It's everywhere. Our suppliers, Placemakers not so much anymore, but they still do have franchises of sorts where they had the JV model, where there's a guy that owns 50-50 with the corporate office.
Even the gyms and stuff as well.
The gyms are all franchises.
Yeah.
The gyms are all franchises, definitely. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
ITM is a cooperative. It's a franchise of sorts. So the more you go on, the more you look, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
They're absolutely everywhere. So that tells you something, right? And good franchises. So our one's owned by a corporate office in Australia, and there's a master franchise like me. I'm the master franchise for New Zealand. There's a master franchise in Queensland. There's a master franchise New South Wales, Victoria, and another one over in WA. And so they basically hold the license to operate the brand. Is given to them by corporate office. Corporate office gives a whole lot of support and guidelines into how it all works. And then we go out and recruit the franchisees to build the brand and build the numbers and build the business for me here in New Zealand.
Got you.
Yeah.
And so does the franchisee, they pay typically, they pay a franchise fee?
Of course, yep. All of them, there's slightly different ways they do it, but ours pay a percentage of revenue, 6%. There's no need to hide away from that, of their revenue. And that pays for all of, like I said in the first podcast, I mean, it starts with the use of the brand. There's all of that marketing stuff that's just immediate for them. There's our full-time marketing person, guidance and all of that sort of stuff. There's our lead gen that we do. This is all expensive stuff to do if you go it on your own. There's the coaching and mentoring, which we spoke about, which is, to have someone showing you, not that way, I've been that way. There's a cock up down that way, keep going this way,
Save yourself some money.
Yeah, man. Yeah. We do really detailed financial reporting every month. Join the network and build an asset to sell in the future. Makes it all worthwhile. But as a franchisor, you've got to be hard on your game every day, focused on how can I provide more value to these guys to help them make their business life easier and to help them make their businesses more valuable.
Does some eventually go, you know what, a little bit like you and your journey, go like, I'm going to do this for myself and just, I'm not going to use the franchise model?
Back in the old days, definitely.
Yeah.
We've come a long way, and that is less and less so. We did have a guy last year who went down a real sort of big commercial path down on the West Coast, and he departed, but he wasn't servicing, it just wasn't the right fit for either of us, and he wasn't really servicing the renovation market. So it's better to move on.
So that's an ongoing fee as such, based on revenue, right?
Based on revenue.
Nothing. Okay, there's not like then a marketing one as well. Is that the only one that they pay?
1% of that fee goes into the group marketing fund.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then you guys can market
and
at
so
scale.
the bigger we get, the more grunt we've got in that space.
Yeah.
To help generate more leads.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're working all the time on generating more leads, but more better leads, more quality leads.
Is there an upfront payment? Because some franchises, you pay an upfront payment as well, right?
Yep, there's an upfront 60 grand plus GST for us, which is very small as an industry standard. Buys you your territory. So say, you know, take a good spot like
Stratford.
Stratford's taken.
Okay.
Kerikeri up north, a gold mine, heaps of that boomer money up there.
Yeah.
Which is free. We're marketing that at the moment. Someone can come along at 60 grand. They now own that area, licensed to operate Smith & Sons. They sort of, you know, get the uniform on and start going through some training, and the leads start coming, and we've got this growth pathway to help guide them into, you know, you need a long-term time horizon. It's not overnight.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got a 10-year plan on it, that you're going to build that business and build that brand in a town like Kerikeri and get it very, very well known, get your systems really well honed, you're going to have a fantastic business, almost guaranteed.
You're building an asset that you can sell, and hopefully tax-free sale, but things might change in 10 years' time.
Probably change by then.
Yeah. So you pay a fee. For a lot of franchises, you pay a fee.
Yep.
But can you... Will the banks finance that? Or like if you can't afford that as such or pay it all up front, are there solutions?
We finance, there's always solutions. Yeah, definitely. For the right guy, there's ways around that, definitely.
Because I'd imagine you'd then need a van and equipment and things like that as well. And
but they've usually, the kind of guys that are ready for a business like ours have got all that stuff set up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a pretty low initial investment and a pretty quick, if you do things right and you follow the plan, it's a pretty quick cash flow and payback, real quick actually.
So say someone took on Kerikeri, for instance, then you guys have to go into overdrive of basically, right, we need to get this franchise owner some leads, and we need to get them some work, and we need to get them some runs on the board.
Yep. Yeah. So a big chunk of that initial, they do a smaller upfront payment, and that goes straight into their startup sort of initial 3 months of getting that going.
Yeah.
Often they've got their own work on that they've got to finish. There's this overlap, so those things happen at differing speeds. And the biggest thing, and I've got to be manage their expectations as well, is I always try and give the analogy that what we sell is a vehicle. So if you go through all those things like our brand and the marketing and the lead gen and the coaching and the financial things, they all make up a car.
Yeah.
Right? The car won't go anywhere unless they hop in and drive it.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That analogy seems to work well with the guys. I can be in the passenger seat with you. I jump out every now and again and go off and sit in someone else's passenger seat, come back, U-turn back the other way, that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they have to drive it. And a good franchisee for us is someone who understands that, is all in, knows that it's, if they've got a 5 and 10 year plan on it, they're making decisions like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Marketing decisions. It doesn't just happen. You don't just put an ad in the paper and boom, away it goes.
Yeah.
You've got to put that ad in the paper all year.
I think a lot of people think that that's how it works.
That's what they all think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 27 franchise owners around the country at the moment.
Yep.
Aiming to get to 38, 40. Goal is to be household name, Smith & Sons.
Yep.
Who makes it work the best from what you've seen over the years? Who is perfect to own and run a franchise outside of kind of that piece that you've already explained, where if they've got that longer term vision and can go, right, this has to work.
Yep.
Therefore, if I stick at it for 5 to 10 years.
So the perfect couple would be like a husband and wife in their, mid to early 30s, and with a keenness to grow. They've probably done it on their own, maybe a little bit. They've been in group housing. Group housing's a pathway a lot of guys go, where they'll go and stand frames and build homes for GJs, etc. And that's hard work. It's hard to make. You're never going to be rich doing that, put it that way.
Okay.
And so they've done a bit. They've been in business for a little while. If they own their own home and that sort of stuff, that's a great positive. It's just starting to have their own family, and they're perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about who's franchising not for? Would you explain, like when you must meet with the odd person who's interested with a
Tons.
Smith. What's that?
I meet with tons that doesn't go any further, definitely.
Yeah. So accountants.
Yeah, or anyone's a non-builder is out straight away. But even in my industry, there's a ton of guys that get attracted to the franchise and think they just need the leads. That's all they need. They know it all.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
So they probably don't want to learn about the systems, about selling,
They're never going to get on a computer,
Oh, yeah.
They're never, I've learnt to who they are.
Yeah. So
and it's not for them, It's for someone who's going to come in with the right attitude, dive in, stay really well connected to my support office in Silverdale, stay very connected to the group, come to every single meeting. Our best franchisees, it's the same every time. They'll never miss a meeting. Wow. We put on two a year, and then corporate office puts on an AGM. They just go to every single one because they know that there's value in it. They know that there's the value of the network in it.
Yeah.
It's a great signal.
Yeah. So those people who probably get it wrong probably think, right, I know what I'm doing. I just need
those leads.
Yeah, they'll give me the leads and then I'll do the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work.
And the leads are just one part of it, right?
It's just one small part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So
one small part of it. You got to look at that whole thing and extract the value out of all of it. And yeah.
Have you got any good stories of real positives of being involved in that franchise model that come to mind?
There's plenty of guys in our group, in our bigger offices that I've known since I was in 2011 that have built some significant personal wealth.
Yeah.
They've done very well for themselves. They've got great businesses that are definitely worth money. So although they still go through the ups and downs of business and stuff, it's amazing to see them.
Yeah.
It's really satisfying. There's a guy, Ben Dean, down in South Waikato, who lives in Patararu. For him to come on board and for exactly what I sold him to be occurring 3 years in now and to see how well he's doing and how much he's smashing it, and he's the perfect character of just following and being engaged, and it's just working for him.
Yeah.
That's pretty,
rewarding. Yeah.
That's so rewarding, man. That's what I want to see.
Because I guess when you start someone new, you can sort of see what it can be because you've done it so many times.
Yep.
And coach people through it, but they're probably thinking, shit, it's a pretty big leap and I've got to pay this money and no one's going to know who I am.
If I do the sales process, it always takes about 2 or 3 months, and I make sure, I say to them, look, I want, when it comes to that signing day, I want you to be 150% on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So let's take as much time as you need. And then I always get them to speak to as many people in the network as they want to. You don't want someone coming in half-assed on it. Oh, should I, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
And so that works pretty well.
What areas do you currently have open that you're advertising around the country? And how do you pick what areas are next?
Don't really. We just move that. So we've had a big end to last year where we sort of got 5 new guys on through last year. So we're pausing it a little bit now because the focus goes on to them.
Yeah.
There's a real incubator period. We're not over them every day. I don't want to smother them, but there's a lot of eyes on. Let's just, get them stood up. We've learnt that, to be good at that. The first 3 years in business, you've probably got some stats around that, or you sink or swim,
For sure, yeah.
So and I actually signed another one up down in Wellington just early this year, but that sort of paused us. But there's some fantastic areas around. Like I said, there's Kaitaia in the far north, there's Kerikeri, Whangarei's gone. There's good areas all around the place.
Yeah, nice. So you basically go out there, get people set up, and then you sort of pause in terms of opening other areas because you want to spend time making sure that they really know what they're doing.
Totally.
And then get them going, and then that keeps building the brand nationwide, and then you start to open up some of those other areas.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Slow and steady.
Yeah. Slow and steady, yeah.
Yeah.
About as fast as I can.
Yeah, I was going to say, I suppose it's not that slow. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you find the recruitment part of it? Where does most inquiry come from?
I do Facebook stuff. I do the odd, nowhere near. My Facebook social media stuff compared to yours, I'm 1 out of 10. You're like 12.
Yeah, run your own race, mate. That's right.
Yeah. But so we do bits and pieces of that. I do my business for builders. That's the sort of. It's just to not confuse the retail Smith and Sons, attracting leads, renovating customers in. We do business for builders as it's just a cleaner way. So mostly Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, and guys will get in touch and have a chat on the phone, and that leads to a meeting and a coffee and a bit of a chat, and just goes from there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
There'll be people listening to this that have potentially looked at a franchise or want to look at a franchise, not Smith and Sons. So let's go outside of Smith and Sons. What do people need to be thinking about and looking out for? Because I'm sure that they're not all set up equal, and there can be trouble.
Definitely. If you're out there listening and you're looking at a gym franchise or a food franchise or any of those, I mean, without stating the obvious, take as much time as you need to do as much due diligence as you can.
Yeah.
Talk to other franchises is the most obvious one. What is the support office like? Are they nasty or are they nice? You know what I mean? There was a big there was actually what do they call it, a Royal Commission in Aussie a few years ago. I think it's going back about 10 years ago now, because franchising some of the big, I think it was mostly the food chain ones, the coffee houses and stuff like that, were getting pretty unscrupulous on their franchisees. They were basically, for big money, selling them a job.
Yeah.
And then enforcing all sorts of just real onerous stuff on them. And there was a big upheaval over there. They've got much more stringent rules over there than we have here now.
Because that is a little bit of the argument for some people, right, is that when you buy a franchise, you're effectively buying a job, and you've got to be very careful as to what it is that you're paying for and then what you're being asked to do, right?
100%. Well, some of them obviously are buying a job, and people are happy with that. If you buy gyms, you're just buying a job. You're buying, maybe there's scope to grow it a bit, but not so much.
Yeah.
A gym's anything.
Yeah.
I guess if you're buying a gym, you just got to be really careful on what they're promising and what they're showing the potential is. They're obviously there's going to be sales guys out there on a commission. They're going to pump the numbers.
Yeah.
But what is so there's the potential, but what's the reality? And be, robust numbers. Prove it to yourself.
Yeah, because when you talk about doing your due diligence, like what sorts of things can people go and do apart from talking to other franchise owners around the country, maybe?
Yeah, that would be number one. And probably number one would be look at the franchise agreement and get advice on it.
Who from, like a lawyer? Or?
Yeah. And for us, I mean, I always tell our franchisees you need to get independent advice. Franchise specialists, of which there are a number around the country, are definitely the best because they see these agreements all the time.
Daily.
Yeah. Whether it's your normal old lawyer that does conveyancing stuff, he's not familiar with them.
Yeah.
And I've seen them just like they've make a big mountain out of one thing that's just irrelevant and miss something that's probably more,
important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Understand your franchise agreement 100%.
Yeah.
Definitely. That would be the case for any franchise, right?
Yeah, I'd be ringing other franchise owners around the country, like I said before, just to see, hey, what's it like?
And think of some questions. Yeah, what's the culture like when you all get together? Is everyone succeeding? What's it like when you're a little bit late paying your fees? Are they nasty or are they all good? Or, you want to know that stuff.
Yeah, even maybe like a little bit of what control do you have around any form of marketing and stuff, because obviously not every franchise is going to be as successful as other ones to try and drive new work to them.
Totally.
I've sort of seen a couple through my accounting travels where there's not much flexibility to do too much at all, and you'd have to get consent about can we go on the Christmas parade, for instance, and just little things like that. Yeah.
So this is franchising and accounting?
No, but just a couple that I've dealt with over the years.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, right. Real onerous control.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotcha.
I'm like, that'd be a great idea. I don't know if we're allowed to do that. I'm like, really?
Mate, anything that grows the brand in a positive way, tally-ho for me,
Yeah. So, I guess that's because I mean, it's funny you raise gyms because they seem to be, I think, the thing that seems to grow the fastest in terms of all of a sudden there's a new one and we won't even name any names on a different street corner and all of a sudden someone's thinking, I want to run one of them, but I just look at them and think, is that a fad? Is it a cycle? That's what I'd be careful about.
Must be a tough game. Yeah. Like I live on Whangaparāoa Peninsula, and when I first moved up there in the early 2000s, I think there might have been two options: the leisure centre, the council one, and maybe the golf club from memory. There might have been one other.
Yeah.
There must be 20 on that, just on that one area, including Silverdale now.
Wow.
That's a tough game to be in, man.
Yeah, because people start jumping around or, this is the trendy thing that my friend's doing now. I might go and do that instead.
Well, imagine investing into the expense of buying into some coffee place, fitting out a place and getting the location wrong. You thought it was going to work, and you get it wrong, and you're doing half the coffees that the top office is doing.
Yeah.
How do you fix that?
Yeah, wrap it up and take the
Bin
hit.
it.
But you're right though. You raise a good point, because then for some of them, right, you have to fit it out. So basically, there'll be rules around how regularly you fit it out, and they've got to look the same, and you've got to fit
every
the bill.
5 years and stuff like that. You've got to gut it and redo it.
You've got to use this supplier.
Got to use that supplier. That's called third line enforcing in Australia. We don't have none of that, because what a lot of franchises do is actually make their money through rebates from forcing someone to buy X product, and then they collect the rebate.
Gotcha. Yeah. So we must supply X, Y, Z, and the whole country has to buy from.
You have to buy from them.
Yeah, and then back door we're getting a rebate.
Yep.
Yeah, got you.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
So there's all sorts of stuff like that goes on.
So when you go and get your drink out of the fridge at your certain favourite food establishment,
right, probably. There's all sorts going on. Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. I guess that's the power of
And so for us, I mean, we pride ourselves on the culture. I just love culture's everything in a big group, you know. And I've been a builder, I've been a franchisee, and driven by making them successful, you know. Cliche, but our success will fall, takes care of itself if we make sure they're successful.
Yeah, 100% agree. It's a value that we have at Next Advisor is basically winning. if our clients are winning,
then you're winning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Are there any examples where you've seen people go through the Smith and Sons model and then sell on the other side? Not yet?
So back in I kind of call it bad old days, there was a couple of quite good sales actually, but before sort of my time in management, that would be done a lot differently now. Yeah.
So say someone wanted to buy an established Smith and Sons franchise, they would go to those business owners and they would buy the equipment that they have potentially, then a goodwill factor. So basically, what is the Smith and Sons brand worth in that region that they've got the license to? And then do they buy the license off of them, or is that
they would buy the license? We'd do a new franchise agreement, and they'd buy a brand new license off us.
I see. Yeah.
Carrying on the infrastructure and everything that was built there.
Yeah,
so they'd come in and they'd meet us. They'd do their due diligence through us to make sure of that. I've got a new franchise partner.
Yeah.
They'd do a deep dive into the business. They'd obviously go to an accountant and look at all the numbers and how much does it depend on the franchisee. You want to build a business that's, I always say to the guys, you want to build a business that can tick around on its own. How long can you go away from it? And will it keep operating?
Yeah.
There's some businesses we've got going that could operate for considerable amount of time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a business.
That's dreamy for a lot of business owners.
It's dreamy for a lot of tradies because a lot of them are on hourly rates, and when they're not there, there's no money.
They're on the tools. Yeah, I think a little bit of a tangent, but people probably don't understand that you can go and buy a business and you can actually get finance for that, and that might be from the bank, it might be secured against your property, or it might be secured against the assets that you're buying. But at the same time, it could even be that the vendor, so the person selling it, finances you in.
100%.
Yeah, and I don't think there's enough education. I probably need to start doing a little bit more about that, because I think that in these coming next 2 decades, there are going to be a mountain of businesses that are up for sale because the business owners are getting out.
And what a perfect way to do it, eh?
Yeah, and we're not educating people coming through that, that's an option. You could buy that, and it doesn't just have to be, that business is worth $500,000. Like, I'd never be able to buy that. Yeah. Well, actually, there are many ways. Yeah,
I want out. I'll come in and mentor you guys for the next couple of years, and you pay it off to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are so many.
Absolutely. That's a fantastic way. And I think that'll be the main way that a lot of businesses will sell.
Yeah, because I don't think, because people are going to be paying so much for property that they're just going to be, their disposable is going to get sucked into that. So to then try and build a nest egg to go, right, I'm going to build a business one day, you really are going to have a plan for that or understand the different ways.
Not many people have the plan.
No,
not at all.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure I heard an ad on the radio the other day, like Barker's Business Brokerage or something like that, saying that there's just like a huge wave of these boomer businesses coming on the market because these guys are all, tapping out.
Yeah.
So it's probably quite a big thing. Probably some quite good businesses in there as well.
Well, for sure. I was going to say, some of them will get a fright because the demand won't be there, and then they're going to have a tricky option because it's basically, well, do we try and carry on ourselves? Do we wait for a buyer to come, or do we just wind it up and sell the equipment?
Yeah, don't do that. I mean, the strategy would be to think 3 years out. If there's someone within the business that you start to bring in to the board a little bit, or into and mentor them up and say, look, here's a pathway for you to own this thing. What do you think?
Yeah.
And he's been working there for 10 years. He knows everything about it. Boom.
So back to you guys in terms of partners and stuff like that. So you're talking about rebates and whatnot, and there's probably all sorts that goes on. But I'd imagine there's specific partners that you guys would use, and you go, right, we're going to use them in this franchise. We're going to need to use them across the country. Do you go and build relationships with those partners as well?
Definitely. Yep. I was at the Tile Warehouse this morning. So our biggest one's Placemakers. Been with them since we're 15 years. We've been with Places. They're very good to us. Solid partnership. Myco does all the front of wall plumbing stuff. Both Fletcher's businesses. But again, solid relationships with them, and nothing but good to say about them both.
Yeah.
Tile Warehouse. Carpet Court. It's a little, they drop off a cliff a little bit for us in volumes that we do, because we're in Renos, and it's not like group housing where someone like Carpet Court just gets monstrous amounts through GJs, for example. It's bits and pieces for us.
Yeah.
But we don't enforce who the guys use. Some of them come on and they've been with an ITM for years and years, and they value the relationship there more than what Placemakers deal that they get through us.
Yeah.
And so they stay with their ITM, and that's fine.
Yeah, cool.
No one worries.
Okay, so you build those partnerships so that people do have, the franchise owners do have the ability to go direct to that partner and go like, righto, and they're probably getting a better rate, or even just knowing that they're going to have that support of the brand. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We, it helps us all. If you look at take Placemakers, for example, if you look at the big picture of the value that they give us, if you just looked at the pricing, you'd go, man, the pricing's okay. But there's rebates that go back to the guys. There's a point system. They always help us with marketing considerably with our marketing spend.
Yeah.
Support us in all of the meetings. They help us put those on. There's all sorts. And I've got a really strong relationship with their corporate office. So if there's something not working quite right at one of the branches, I can ring them and they boom straight on it.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good,
Yeah, power of a group. Speaking of that, as well, like one of the things that I come across with a lot of business owners is they just want to compare themselves to somebody else. So they want to know, are we doing well? Could we be doing better? What do these numbers tell us? And so it's funny, very early on in my accounting career, I remember sitting down and this business owner just gave me their financials, and they're like, so what do you see? And I'm like, is this like they're taking the piss? But they were genuine. They're basically like is
this good?
Yeah, is there some magic in there? Or
yeah.
I'm like, what do you want to know? And they're like, well, I don't know. Like, what can you see? And I'm like, geez, this is strange. I'm like, it's not an X-ray, but it kind of is. But the beauty when you start pulling businesses together like you have is that you can see
the data.
Yeah, and we always say like numbers don't lie.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so you'd be able to tell, well, how come margin's awesome across 24 of these franchises, but 3 of them, and you can spot that so quickly, right?
And we share that out, So the power of numbers, and the power of having a good grip on the correct data that you can feed back to the group is everything in business for me. I mean, it's one of the most exciting things that I love is looking at that data and allowing it to show us the way. Not there because the numbers tell you not to go there. Go there, the numbers are good.
Yeah. And
we've made some really good decisions based off that, obviously. Data-driven decisions, again, the cliche. And then teaching guys to use that. What we were talking about earlier, a young, dumb guy, which I have actually been in before, who goes out and buys the Flash Ranger because he's, won a job.
Yeah.
our guys, the younger ones, the older ones don't need to do this, but we'll teach them, this is why we use a budget. We've got a budget set out for you for the year. Okay, it's Q2. You want to buy the new Ranger. Well, let's just have a look where you are. Oh, yeah, you're ahead of budget. Where's your profitability? Actually sitting right on. What's your forward workflow like? 6 months. Buy it.
Yeah.
You're good.
Nice.
Don't just, shoot from the hip and buy it, though.
Yeah.
Let's analyse the data. Let's have a little talk.
Wicked. Yeah, use that.
You'd agree with that, right,
yeah.
Mr. Accountant?
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah, we talk about it in terms of like cash flow planning, for instance, of like, okay, if you're going to go do it, what's it going to do? What's the monthly repayment? Okay, have you factored that into any cash flow forecasting?
Yeah.
Because 90% of the time I know the answer is no.
No, I just want to impress my mate.
Yeah. Oh, do you think I should buy this ute? I'm like, well.
Let's look at some data.
Yeah. And it's the same for all of us. It's so easy.
Yeah, man. And I like to see some consistent profitability there because it gives me confidence that they've got the systems now, that they understand, And for us, that's a journey.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think in business, like a lot of people don't take over their general financial literacy that they have, and they may think isn't that high over to their business. So as an example, you wouldn't just go and, well, maybe people do, but I think you wouldn't just go and like buy a more expensive home without knowing, can you actually afford it? And usually the stop there is the bank will say, no, we're not going to give you the money. But it is very easy to go to a car yard, for instance, and go, hey, can I buy that vehicle? And they do a bit of an assessment and go, looks like we can lend this person that money.
They want to lend it to you.
Yeah. Most people are probably going to go, well, can I actually afford $300 a week? But I think in business, it's like this magical sort of area, and they go, well, it's business, so I think, why can't I buy the Ford Ranger, or why can't I do this?
Yeah.
But they don't apply the same principle of basically, okay, can you afford to? Like, what's your definition of afford to? What's your decision-making framework?
Yeah, I just think most New Zealand businesses, it shocks me that it's that easy to go. You can just go on to the New Zealand Companies Office, register a business, and you're in business.
Yeah.
You'd think that would be a better system than that. There's no understanding of tax, GST. There's no understanding of, I haven't had a tax bill in the first 12 months. What's going on here? Then bang, all that stuff. There's just no learning.
No, I think we're one of the easiest countries in the world to start a business.
It's a sink or swim.
Yeah. Well, when I say that, it's one of the fastest countries in the world where you can basically set up a company. Yeah. But anyone can effectively start a business from, walk out the door and start painting for the neighbours or whatever, and you're effectively in business.
Totally. And I mean, that Henry the product was just, that blew me away. What he's doing for, what are they called? Not businesses.
Sole traders. Yeah. Amazing, yeah.
Amazing. And then I was looking at a back of a bus yesterday and never think about tax again. I was like, man, that's pretty good. But when you're in business, it's not the same, right?
No.
And there's no training, and you need to make sure if you're going into business, you need to have some advisors like you guys provide, like we provide, so you're making the right decisions, because, man.
And all of your franchises are using something like Xero, right? They are using Xero. Yeah.
Yep.
And that means that you can dive into the data from anywhere in the country and basically diagnose for them and have a look and go, right, what's going on? Yep. But you're doing that monthly, 2 monthly by the sounds.
2 monthly for the experienced officers that have got healthy balance sheets and got their shit in a pile.
Yeah.
Monthly for everyone else. Because from my experience, when I was working for myself, I'd get my end of year accounts, I felt like 8 or 9 months after, and I would always, the same question, where's the money then?
Yeah.
I don't have any money.
Yeah, this is bullshit.
Yeah. And I just never understood it.
I spoke to a business owner this week, and they are still doing their 2023 accounts, which ended 31 March 2023. I'm like, guys, we're about to finish 31 March 2024. So your tax payments for 2024 are probably now still only based off of 2022.
Yeah.
There could be a big shock here if you don't understand what happens here. And they're just like, oh, this is how it's always been. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
You're a little bit of education and their eyes would be opened.
Yeah. People just don't understand.
Yeah. And I think that's the power of pulling together businesses or franchises so that you can do a little bit of that benchmarking and actually have access to that information and say to one business owner, hey, a couple of small tweaks here.
Yeah.
It's going to really be changed.
Well, exactly. The power of being able to say, your conversion rates here, the group average is way up here. The difference between those two is a massive opportunity. It's not like a bad thing if you look at that in the right way, and we can get your conversion rate to up here, and I always pains to say it won't be one thing.
Yeah.
There'll be 10 things that we're going to tweak. And up she comes.
Yeah.
You know, same as gross profit. If your gross profit's down here and everyone else is up here, again, the power of a group like ours.
Yeah. It's interesting because I imagine some humans would default to being demoralized by that. So they'd be like, oh, like...
They do.
They'd be gutted that their conversion rate or whatever is lower than some of the other... Whereas I've probably had those years, but I'd be like, right, where are those?
Do it?
Yeah.
Let's go and talk to the good guys.
Yeah.
Get on the phone. Let's start networking. Let's start hustling. Exactly.
How do you do this? What do you say in this conversation?
If you tend towards glass half empty, that will be your initial view of it. I'm useless. I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
But if you flip that thinking and realise that, well, if they're all doing it, there's no reason why I can't do it either. And improvements start to happen straight away.
Do you sometimes use what the franchise owners that are doing really well, do you use those as storytelling and examples or even a bit of...
100%.
Yeah.
Of course, all the time.
Yeah.
Our experienced and successful franchisees just naturally become group leaders. They'll present at our meetings, happily get up and present and tell stories of what they're doing, how it works, all of that sort of stuff. And I get the young guys in and I say, you want to be them in the future, you know? So again, I will thank the group so much. They're awesome at that sort of stuff. They don't just fold their arms and wait for me to do it all.
Yeah, it's a cool thing, I guess, to be involved with something like Smith & Sons is you've not only got your support, but then you've also got the franchise owners that are doing well.
Yep.
So you can kind of call your bluff and go, you don't know, mate. You're not on the tools anymore.
Exactly.
Reon's full of shit.
Well, it might be just hearing someone say something in a different way that resonates with you and you're like, oh, shit, I see what you're saying. You know, I've had that happen to me all the time. I hear it from a different perspective. I'm like, okay, I get that.
Yeah, and even just little things like, say you go back to conversion, for instance, someone might say to you, if you just change your tone, your conversion might increase. You think like, okay, that you understand what I mean by that, right? But like if you hear that from someone that basically says, well, mate, don't be like, oh, I'm dealing with a supplier that's late and they're pissing us round tone.
Don't be that.
Yeah, when you're trying to convince someone to do their renovation with us, be like, oh, this is gonna be amazing when you're finally through this, and this is a major project for you. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I do plenty of sales training, and it's more how our system that we follow. But it's always at pains to say, guys, this isn't sales training. Like, we're not selling a product here.
Yeah.
This isn't that. These people have invited you to their house to facilitate. They've got an issue they want help with, you know what I mean? So let's just chill out. It's not like you have to touch them and say their name 3 times and all that got to carry on.
Yeah, it's a privilege. They're inviting you into their home for help. Let's figure out, can we help them, and tell them how we can help them.
So then it just becomes down to the real basics, like have some good personal hygiene. Turn up not in your stubbies and bare feet and your singlet on, like you just come off site.
Yeah.
You know, try and look a little bit like compliment what they've come through.
Yeah.
Have both their names written down, so when you knock on the door, John answers or Julie answers, you can, just little stuff.
Yeah, but it makes a big difference.
Big difference.
Yeah.
Build that rapport, get comfortable with yourself, and then there's a system that we go through, and it just works really well. Once they get confidence in it, they're away. Fascinating,
mate. Well, to wrap up, what would you say the big advantages of joining a franchise?
Just franchises in general?
Yeah.
Yeah, like just franchise in general. I mean, the power of numbers, leveraging off a brand that's already, the hard yards have already been done, obviously is massive. Imagine trying to start a burger bar and compete with Macca's. It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
And do your due diligence big time. There'd be some shit ones and there'd be some awesome ones.
Yeah. Nice. Right, if people want to find more about yourself, Reon, and Smith & Sons, where do they need to go and have a look?
Well, hit us up at smithandsons.co.nz and the franchising side, businessforbuilders.co.nz.
Cheers for your time, mate. I'm sure that's been very valuable for people wanting to learn more about getting involved with the franchise.
Thanks, bro.